Welcome back, tribe. I have one here from a small channel, Chinese historian, and he says interracial dating destroyed Asian men. Got a lot of views, so he must have done something right. I only watched like a minute of it, and he was already saying some real crazy shit. Passport bros may be hurting some Asian dudes. Let's see.
All right, what is up, guys? So in this video, we're going to talk about interracial dating. Ooh, I know this topic is going to trigger a lot of people, but I want to make something clear at the start of this video. None of the things I'm about to say in this video is based on my personal opinion. I'm just telling you guys the 100% truth, and this is what I've observed. I've been living in the West for nearly 20 years now. And first of all, first point I have to make is that nobody likes Asian
Nice
guys,
medals.
okay? That's just a biological fact. If you're born an Asian male, you're born to be cucked into this world, okay? For example, let's say, if you go to New York City, right? You pull together a bunch of young people. Let's say you pull together 100 young women between the ages of 18 to 25. And if you pull together another random 100 male between the ages of 18 to 25, this is across all religions, all ethnicities. And if you ask these young women to rate the other group of young men, the group of men that will come up with the highest scoring in terms of attractiveness will be white male, followed by black male, followed by a Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Pacific Islander, American Samoan, possibly indigenous. And this is the group that follows. And the two groups that always ends up at the bottom, it's Asian male and Indian male, okay? That is 100% true biological fact. There's no twisting way around it. And you know who has it worst? Asian men. Because at least in India, almost all the marriages are arranged, right? However, for Asian males in the modern world where the entire world is connected, with the rise of millions of passport bros and with the rise of interracial dating and marriage, the Asian guy gets completely cucked. So I'll give you an example. If you can look at this up, this is the latest statistics in the U.S. on interracial marriage, right? The number of Asian females enter interracial marriage is at a staggering 36% compared to 17% for Asian men. Even this number is skewed. I'll tell you why. Because in this category, they categorize Asian men and Indian men. They put them into the same category, which is false. Because the vast majority of the time, well, when the Indian person enters an interracial marriage, it's an Indian man and a Western woman. Okay, so let's say if you were able to exclude Indian man from this equation, the true numbers would be something like 50% of Asian women are entering interracial marriage. And for Asian men, it's maybe 10%. And if you go to Asia, if you don't believe me, go to, let's say, China, Japan, go to Philippines, Vietnam, go to Cambodia, Thailand. I would say that the 99% of the cases of all the interracial marriages, it's a white Western passport bro marrying an Asian woman, okay? You would almost never see a passport sister. You didn't see a foreign woman.
He says to people that make the point that AMWF couples, Asian men, white female couples, Asian men, white female couples are the highest earning couples worldwide. It's very obvious since men bring home the money. Only Asian men who have rich parents or in the top 10% of income earners can get a girl. Yeesh. So we're getting the perspective of, just say, an average dude trying to date in the West as an Asian male.
Coming to China to look for a husband, okay? Asian men get completely cut. One thing I want to bring up is that women are more perverted than men in modern relationships. No, I'm serious, okay?
God,
I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I'm just telling you the truth. I went to a college for 2 years, and I've been to universities for 4 years now. In 6 years of post-secondary, sometimes it's, just out of curiosity. Sometimes I see an interracial couple on campus. Sometimes we sit down and, at the parties or whatever, we just have a casual conversation. I see a white.
I mean, you're in college on a campus where people are experimenting and they're very gullible and like sponges. They take in all these new experiences and information, and they can get either brainwashed or completely swayed by the opinions of the group around them. So your testing grounds would be a bit skewed compared to the real world. And they're extremely liberal and left-leaning college campuses in general today. However, I'm not going to discount what he said earlier, that Asian men do rank near the bottom in attractiveness. I've dated tons of girls in America and even some girls here in Europe, and they say the same thing. They've tried dating or been with, and the experience wasn't good, and the stereotypes held up. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of times they did. Not all, but some, etc.
white girl with a black guy on campus. I asked her, like, what made you interested in him? And listen, the answer almost 100% of the time is that it's all about this. Okay, see this? It's all about 8-inch fake black. I'm really not making this up. Women are
What the
extremely
hell?
perverted today. By the way, for comparison, like this is around 5 inches and this is actually around 11 inches. And let's just take a moment, okay? I want to expand on this. For example, the topic of sex comes up, right? You ask these modern so-called liberal feminist women. They say, "Oh, what's the typical like size do you see?" Their
Well, there's your sample size, modern feminist liberal.
answer, it's never like this. It's always something like this. Do you know what that means, ladies? Do you know?
And by the way, they can't measure. Their spatial awareness is not that good. When a woman will tell you, like, my last boyfriend was like 10 inches, and you ask her to show you what 10 inches look like, it's wildly off.
What that means is that the guys with average size penis or small penis simply don't get laid, okay? All of the women want the guy with the huge dick. I'm serious, man. I've seen this so many times. And if you don't believe me, you can just do a survey, especially go to American university campuses. Go talk to the interracial couples, okay? The number one reason for so many white women that's
Yeah, but interracial couples fetishize each other a lot. The left tends to say this, especially you hear when the passport bros go overseas, say white men going to Asian countries, say like these older white men fetishize Asian women. Is that true? Probably on some level, of course. But interracial couples in general, the ones that I've talked to, have a form or some kind of fetish for the person they're dating. Whether you want to call that's my preference or my type, you could replace that word with fetish. You could say whatever it is. It's happened to me when I'm dating Hispanic women in the United States. All my ex-Hispanic girlfriends, same thing. They had a fetish for white guys, a preference for white guys, just something about white guys. I've dated other types of races as well, same thing. The women that were dating me that were outside my race always had a preference for me, so your data could be skewed. So, for example, chicks that only date black guys or white guys or Asian guys, it doesn't matter from whatever race they're from, always have those sets of prejudices, can you call it that, preferences or fetishes for that specific guy. Now, it may not be true for the entire group, but this is just what they built up in their head. And my black friends, same, they were all getting fetishized for the typical stereotypes. And they were getting laid with women outside their race simply for women expecting them to be packing straight hammers. And not everybody's packing a hammer like you see on adult entertainment, dude. That's not the real world. Some of my black friends complain about this shit all the time. Although it's cool because it gets you laid when you're not packing a hammer like you see on adult entertainment and the girl is disappointed, she ghosts them. So they were just used as a fetish, which is cool when you just want a one-night stand. But if you're actually interested in a woman and they get ghosted that way and constantly fetishized for your hammer, and you can't live up to the extremes on adult entertainment, it actually messes with your ego in a very negative fashion. And I'm assuming it works in the reverse. Like if a woman's giving an Asian guy a chance and he happens to be packing an absolute rocket, then he's good to go, dude. He is great. She wasn't expecting much. Expectations are low, but results were incredible. So it just depends, guys. Don't put too much stock. I don't know what this guy's experience with women is. Obviously, it's not that good. What he is saying is true, but the world he's living in is also twisted. Okay, left-leaning liberal campuses with people that already have questionable mental health, critical thinking skills, etc. You name it. So, well, let's continue.
Dating black men on college campuses, it's because they have a huge. And part of the reason why when you rate a man's attractiveness on a scale and the Asian and Indian men always land on the bottom is that, I'm sorry, most of these men, they don't have massive dicks, okay? That's just...
It's weird how he's focusing on dick size so much because really what it is masculine characteristics outside of sex because a woman can't tell how good you are in bed. And I've hooked up with women too that have said like, oh, surprisingly, they were really good in bed. Asian men, surprisingly, he was much bigger than I was expecting compared to the stereotypes, yada, yada. So it's out there. However, the reason Indian and Asian men tend to perform so poorly in the eyes of women is because they're shorter, more feminine looking, like Asian men don't have any body hair, more feminine characteristics, smaller, less muscle, shorter, short height. Bro, height is a huge one. Indian men have their own set of problems when it comes to skin color, how dark you are. A common other one is smell that a lot of women report. And that'll hurt your feelings. I understand, but it's just the reality of what women are saying. They find issues with some of the bottom tier men in their eyes. So now, assuming you're not short, and again, sample sizes matter because the colleges I went to, I've had friends that were Indian men, very good looking, had money, of course, a little bit lighter skinned, but were absolutely jacked, would go to the gym, had perfect beards because Indian men can grow absolutely perfect beards, super lined up, everything on point, essentially like boy supreme. And then Asian men, same thing, like Asian chads, and they were all getting laid. This is just specifics that maybe, or I should say, maybe the average is slightly lower to get an Indian or a Asian Chad, perhaps. But they do exist. And if you took all the Chads together of every race, they probably perform similarly. And there may be a gap between, and it's a very minute gap between like a white Chad being at the top and a black Chad or a Tyrone and a Yang or Ying or whatever they meme for the Asian guy's name to be, and the Hispanic and whatever, like there may be slight differences, but once you're the top 5-10 percentile of men in each race, you have no issues with any woman anywhere whatsoever. A lot of the race preferences go out the window.
The true biological fact. Women are obsessed with this. Women cannot lead in a relationship. Women are followers because, for example, I've heard of many stories like this, right? When a woman hooks up with some guy with a huge, and it's important to remember, Christ. It's not just the length, it's also the girth. For example, like this is roughly 5 inches, right? But a lot of women are obsessed with the girth as well. So like, if you have an average size penis, but if you have a massive, massive girth, that woman will still want to sleep with you. This is how modern women, this is how they choose their relationship.
I gotta say, like, he's giving virgin vibes. I don't know if he is, but the obsessive nature of dick size and what women think about dick size is reminiscent of when you're like a teenager and you're still a virgin and you come across adult entertainment. And then you get the insecurity from watching it and how you measure up and all this stuff. The way it hijacks your brain into thinking like that's real sex. That's what sex should look like. This is what women want done to them. And then you actually start hooking up with women and you start to see the truth. And it's like, oh yeah, clearly that's not representative of a reality. However, there's some men that are going into their potentially 30s like this guy. I'm not sure if he is. Just say, if you've never hooked up with a woman, of course you're going to be insecure about your size. You have no hard data to back up saying like you're adequately sized or better than average or a well performer. And a lot of women are left shaking in bed and all those little moments that reaffirm you that you're fine, you're doing good, don't worry about it. And seeing the satisfied look on women's faces. If you don't have that real world data reaffirming yourself, then you may go down this rabbit hole in this trap of thinking that you're never enough, that you're too small, that no woman will ever love you, that all they want is huge size. And, you may be consuming adult entertainment all the time. And you may be watching the exact content that's messing with your head. Like this dude may potentially be watching, and on top of that, being reaffirmed on the liberal campuses, that kind of content of giant hammers, small girls kind of thing. There's a lot to unpack here, dude, but his perspective is, unique to him. Let's see.
This is how they choose their partners. It's based on their height, their length, and their girth. And if you wonder why, the relationship is not going well for you, you wonder why you're not happy. It's absolutely ridiculous. Every time one of these girls, they hook up with a guy that has a huge dick, they tell all of their friends and all of their roommates about it. They say, oh my God, this guy, Jack, it's so huge. It was the best orgasm I've ever had. Then all of a sudden, everybody in that girl's female group, they all want to have the sex with the same guy. Many people call this hypergamy or female choice copulate, where the vast majority of women are only attracted to a very small percentage of men. And just ladies, I want you to remember this. You say that, there are no good men left, right? All the good men are taken. You say men are assholes, men are wife beaters, men are cheaters. Okay, right now in the United States, you can look this up. This is according to Pew Research.
And he's doing this in the United States where competition is stiff and delusion is all-time high. I wonder what would happen if he were to go overseas to one of those Southeast Asian countries like Philippines or Thailand, especially with his American salary, and he would do well. But you're competing, yes, and looking how you look and the kinds of men that are on campus, which there's a lot of Chads on campus, a lot of Tyrones on campus, a lot of quality men on campus to choose from. And not only that, but it's a party atmosphere. So you go to bars, you go to nightclubs, what college students do for fun. And then there's the men there that are courting the women. So your chances are dramatically lower when you're an average dude in that exact environment.
Under the age of 30, over 60% of men are single. Over 60% of men are single under the age of
Yep.
30. So, ladies, that is really your problem. You all want the same guy. You all want the 6 feet, the six figures, the six pack, and the 6 inches, okay? And which is a very, very small percentage of the population. Just the height requirement alone, right? 14.5% of the adult male population in the United States is at least 6 feet. 6'1" is 7%. 6'2" is 3%. Okay, just want you to put that into perspective. So you would rather be someone else's side chick rather than find you a man that will treat you like a queen and will respect you and will never cheat on you. For example, I've been part of 2 varsity teams, right? Sometimes before a track practice, right, you meet up with a group, right? There's 5 guys on the team and there's 5 female on the team, and 4 of the 5 guys are single. One of the guys has a girlfriend, and let's say all 5 of the women are single. You just go up, have an interaction. You ask them, how's your day going? How is your physical condition? Are you ready for race day? Whatever. Just strike up a random conversation. Every single time it's guaranteed, whatever the situation is, whether it's in a classroom or a club or a varsity team, okay? The group of females, they always find the 1 or 2 guy in that group that's already in a relationship. See, and whenever the first girl that finds that guy, all of the other girls want to start a conversation. They want to start flirting with that same guy. They say, oh, do you like my hair? You like my little pink scrunchie? Do you like my outfit?
That's just pre-selection, by the way. The fact that the guy has a girlfriend tells other women it's a signal that this is a good man that other women should want. And they love competition to try to take him from another woman. It's a subconscious thing, the taking, but even bigger that's on their mind is he's safe. He's got a woman already. There's nothing wrong with him, right? The creep vibes go away. A lot of guys will notice this too when they get married, that all of a sudden women see the ring on your finger and all of a sudden they all start talking to you. All of a sudden women are throwing themselves at you and you're married and you got a ring on. If this has actually been a strategy back in the day. I think they wrote articles on it, or at least it was in the pickup community or something like that, that if you went into nightclubs and you had a ring on, you actually had a better chance of betting a woman, because there's women out there that literally only look for married men. But besides those women, just having a ring on shows that you have something women want. Now this and you seem safer. Like I said, less a creep. You can do this too with babies. Like when men have kids or fathers, they notice it too. Like seeing a man with his kids does something, turns them on. Another one that's funny you see on dating apps. Why do you think men put pictures of dogs with them and their dogs or their pups up there? It's the same thing, but to a lesser degree. Seeing a man with his pup or his dogs, all cute little animals and all this stuff is another form of pre-selection. That's all it is. The strongest form, of course, that gives you like a 1-to-1 advantage, like say if all of them were ranked in points, having a girlfriend or having a wife. That's 1 = 1, because that's direct comparison to a woman. One woman to another woman. And then it goes down the list. Woman with a guy with kids. Oh, that's hot too. Daddy vibes. Woman with man and cute dog. Oh, that's nice. He's great with animals. Blah, blah, blah. But pre-selection is real. And the most I've ever gotten laid and the easiest I've gotten laid and the highest quality women I've ever betted was always when I was with other women. Think of in a big group and I was just really friendly with one of the hot girls in the group. And it's crazy. I can't begin to even describe it to you. The best wingman, ironically, that you could ever have for picking up women is a hot chick. This is the only time I will ever say like having a friend that's a chick is cool. If you can use her, completely mutual beneficial relationship where you can use her, friendship. Don't sleep with her. But if you can use her to pull other women, she will destroy the best wingman of all time. One hot chick that legitimately isn't trying to have sex with you, that isn't trying to sabotage you in any way, that will actively try to get other women to sleep with you is a godsend. I'm telling you, those are rare and few in between. They are undefeated, though. The success rate with them is damn near 100%.
And then they start asking him all these questions. They say, oh, how long have you been together with your girlfriend? None of these women will ever approach a guy that's single. Okay, I've seen many guys that have told me the same thing. For example, this is their 4th year in university. I'm about to graduate, right? The first 3 years, they had no girlfriend. No woman ever approached them or DM'd them or complimented them. But they got a girlfriend in their senior year. Now all of a sudden, a bunch of women start hitting on that guy, and then they know that he
True.
already has a girlfriend. Ladies, this kind of behavior is absolute cancer to our society because you're going up to a guy that's in a happy, committed, exclusive relationships, and that you're trying to tear apart that relationships. You're purposely finding men who are married, who are happily married, and they have a beautiful family. They have 3 kids with their wife, and you're trying to tear apart that marriage because, let's just be honest, the vast majority of the cheating are done by the woman. And once again, ladies, I just want to show something. Okay, so this is 5 inches versus 11 inches. Like, why the hell do you need this for? Like, where is this going? Are you absolutely out of your mind? But here's the thing, right? For the people who say, "Oh, I'm exaggerating." No, this is 100% real. For example, if you, let's say, put together a group of 100 women, let's say for this group of women,
Jesus,
you
bro.
find the 2 perfect guys for these women. And these guys, they're the same height, same look, same personality, same income. They got the house in the suburbs. They have the Mercedes and everything. But they say the only difference between these 2 men is that one of them is 5 inches and the other guy is 11 inches. I can guarantee you this. Let's say, you pulled a random group of 100 women, at least 9.
Of course, all of them would prefer. All of them would prefer the 11-inch salami. No shit. That's a flawed comparison. And it's flawed because it's like asking men, okay, you get 2 women completely identical, absolutely everything drop dead gorgeous, but one's ass is bigger. One's waist is a little slimmer. One's boobs are a little bigger. It's like, okay, well, why not take the better one, the bigger one? Why not? Everything else is exactly the same, right? You got to have some negatives attached to actually make people think about which one would you choose. And then you'll find out the value people place on an 11-inch salami. But when you make things exactly the same, it's not an accurate comparison. Now, if you said the 11-inch salami guy, maybe he had a history with drug abuse, or he makes half of what the other guy makes, or he's in debt by $100,000 or something like that, then we'll begin to see the amount of women that will prefer an 11-inch salami, regardless if a man's like $100,000 in debt. Something like that. That would be an eye-opener, a shocker for people. Then we'd see the importance placed on size. So that one's flawed. Can't give that one to you.
95 will choose the man that's 11 inches.
Okay.
Women have become the perverts in modern day relationships. And the vast majority of the time, so many Asian women, they're entering interracial relationships is that most of the time, Asian men don't have a massive dicks, okay? That's just a true biological fact. When you're born as an Asian man into this world, you are just bound to be
Jesus,
okay?
bro.
The world is not fair. That's how the world is set up. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you a biological reality.
If this guy went and got his passport to go to Southeast Asia and the Philippines or Thailand, he would change his tune real quick. A lot of this shit he's dealing with, this is the campus rot, the brain rot that's traumatizing this man. Unfortunately, this is like the trauma from dating in America. His perspective unique as an Asian guy, but the social engineering that's going on all around him, the fetishizing, the heavy emphasis on race, that's all part and parcel of the main conversations in America today. He needs to step out of this toxic environment and go somewhere else to just see how the real world works, not just the little bubble he's in. Because unfortunately, it's clouding his judgment, and he's being pushed down a rabbit hole that's hard to crawl out of once you've convinced yourself and you give yourself confirmation bias the way he is. I can't even say what it is, but it is the dark shade of the red pill. This color right there. You can't say it out loud, but he's falling into that kind of mentality, a nihilistic way of thinking. And I'm telling you, as I said before in previous videos, I believe that this style of thinking will become more and more common, more and more radical, more and more hopeless. The message for men is going to become far more hopeless and potentially dangerous. Maybe one day, instead of apathy, it'll spill into anger. We're not quite there yet. We've had some occasions on when it's happened, but the public tragedies may increase dramatically at a later date when the majority of the population spills into that, quote, anger phase. Right now, most men are just becoming recluses, turning their backs on dating, turning their backs on relationships, playing video games, addicted to adult entertainment, stuff like that. They're withdrawing into themselves, into their rooms. But at some point, the population may grow large enough and the tone of the conversation may shift into something more violent. And it's very possible. The future is going to be interesting, man. I'm telling you. The majority of men soon will not have relations with any woman in their entire lifetime. Now, what happens when we hit that precipice? Because even content like this that we cover just between men and women won't be that well received anymore, because the conversation would have shifted over to such an extreme direction that the only conversation people are willing to hear is just down talking the other. Forget dating. Dating is out of the question. No relationships, nothing. It's just how bad women are and how bad men are, period. And just using examples of why they're the worst in society. Because right now we're still trying to bridge the gap and saying finding good women, finding good men, starting families. But at one point, the conversation will shift into forget families, forget women, forget men, forget relationships, period. How to live on your own, why the other side is bad, period, and why you should avoid them at all costs. Watch, you'll see.
I mentioned before, okay, in 31 years, I've been living in Canada for almost 20 of them, okay?
Canada.
I've never even been on a
Super
first date.
liberal.
No, I'm serious.
There it is. You see, he's never been on a first date. So highly likely he's a virgin, and that's doing a number on him, especially when, again, you don't have that real world data to back up. Like I said, that kind of keeps those demons at bay. It's unfortunate, but dude really needs to go overseas.
Personally, over the years, I've had many Asian women tell me that they would never ever date an Asian guy. There's a reason why the most common interracial relationship worldwide is a white male and the Asian female. And there's also one more thing. This is what I've been told by Western males. The reason why so many of them, they have this Asian fetish. Why do they want Asian women so bad? A lot of them have told me that the hole for the Asian woman is much smaller compared to Western women. I'm just saying this out there, okay? But a lot of Western men have told me that the reason why they like Asian women is that when they're in the bedroom, when they're thrusting.
Yeah, this is definitely virgin speak. It's sad. Having been with so many women that I've been, and I'm not saying this as a flex, I do regret it. I wish I was never in hookup culture. Unfortunately, I was just a product of the environment and too young to know any better, and was peer pressured into a lot of things, yada, yada. I've been with all kinds of women. Multiple times, and there is no difference between, what does he say? Between hole sizes. It's completely individualistic. Some of the tightest would surprise you. Some of the loosest would surprise you. Body types don't even tell you which is which. Sometimes the thicker ones are the tightest, and sometimes the absolute skinniest ones could take a rocket. You have no idea. The 5'2", 95-pound chick could literally take the world. Meanwhile, you got a chick that's like 5'8", 160 pounds, and you're struggling with fingers, my friend. It's completely random, at least in my experience, and the experience of other guys that I would talk to that were doing the same thing.
Because the hole for the Asian woman is much smaller. If the sensation is 10 times greater versus when they're doing it with Western women. Okay, that's just what I've been told. Well, if you think about it, as a proportion to your body size, it makes sense. For example, if a white guy wants to be a passport bro, if he goes to, let's say, Vietnam or something, he find a Vietnamese lady that's, 5 feet tall and weighs 95 pounds. And given that, she's not a hoe, her cookie is going to be tight. It makes sense when you think about it. So you see, here's the thing. Modern women love big dicks, okay? And modern men like women who have a tight cookie, okay? It doesn't matter even if he's packing, let's say, a Saturn V rocket in his pants. He wouldn't feel anything if, that Saturn V rocket is diving into the Grand Canyon. I will follow up this topic on my next video about the new Chinese marriage laws, which is bound to completely destroy our society even more.
Okay, I have to read the comments on this one. The whole women cast members of the movie Crazy Rich Asians all married white dudes. That speaks volumes. I am a white man and I agree 100%. This is so effed on so many levels. Every Asian girl I know dates a white guy. So again, confirmation bias. Potentially the people that are looking for this content are looking for it for a very specific reason. Just putting that out there. I don't know what the statistics on this stuff is, but I find this interesting. 80% of women are chasing the 10% men on dating apps. That's true. The size of the world is shrinking. Back in the day, you had your village to choose partners from. Today, it's literally the entire world. Asian women choose white guys more than their own race. What I've noticed back when I was dating on college campuses is although they messed outside their race, almost every Asian woman would marry an Asian guy afterwards. And that's a thing that the Asian guys were complaining about back then, is that these chicks are having their hoe phases and having fun with all sorts of dudes in college that they would never consider for marriage, but that we're more attracted to. So it left the Asian dudes thinking like, well, why would you settle down with me if all you slept with was like white guys or black guys or whatever? I'm not your type. You're just satisfying your family now. It's true. I'm half black, half white. Recently dated an Asian girl, and she talked bad about men of her own race. It was disgusting. I've had that happen as well too. In college, dating Asian women do not like Asian men in college, at least. Mistake number one is living in Canada. I am mixed. German father, Malaysian Chinese mother. My mother was so proud of herself. She paraded my father around like a trophy. She also favored my siblings because they looked less Asian than I do. Now I live in Asia, married to an Asian woman. And this guy says, being a low value Asian man is like living life on nightmare difficulty. You're stuck in this dilemma where you have to either try to date in the West and get constantly rejected, even by your own women in your looks match, or you have to become a passport bro in your own country. However, then you're in most cases forced to date and marry down and doom your sons to the same fate you had. And not to talk about the divorce rates when you bring her to your rich country where she's young and realizes all the options she has. In many cases, she'll divorce you as soon as she gets her residence permit. In any case, having children will just be perpetuating inkwell-dumb sufferings. So if I ever get a girlfriend, I'm going to make it clear early on that I do not want any children. This is all effed up and nobody wants to admit the cold hard truth. Yeesh. Says, I'm white. I live in Chicago. I can't date my own race because all the white women in the city think they're too good for me. The dating scene sucks for everybody. And then it says, I'm an Asian guy with an amazing and beautiful white girlfriend, Italian. We plan on getting married soon, but I do agree it's absolutely brutal out there. History right. As a white guy, I've noticed all this. I find Asian women attractive, but I don't want to cuck Asian guys. I'm also deeply saddened by the absolute state of white women. Ideally, I want to be with someone who looks like me, and also it just feels disingenuous knowing that most Asian girls will only like me because of my ethnicity. It wouldn't feel like real love to me, and if it was, I would always be a little suspicious. I think we as a society have brutally forgotten how to properly love one another because of the horrible, damaging things like adult entertainment, normalizing of sleeping around in TV shows and whatnot, and music that glorifies bad behavior. I'm also uncomfortable having children that don't look related to me, although I know some hafu don't always turn out this way. I'll probably try to find my way to Eastern Europe at some point if I feel like I am in a position to look for a wife. America is cooked. And then this looks like it's written by a black dude. Black men are not second. Studies have shown we're second to last, only ahead of Asian men. Black men have niche appeal, meaning only a certain type of women see us as dateable. Those women tend to be low value, though. I think our stereotype attracts the wrong women and bad attention from other men. Yeah, like I said earlier, that's some of the things my black friends were noticing. And actually what I've spoken to around here with other passport bros I see in the area, because I live in Bucharest in an area where there's a lot of foreigners, and it's easy to strike up a conversation when you hear an American accent or a British accent, whatever. And you just get and have a small conversation, and then you become friends, and then you start to talk about more and more, or people recognize you from the channel. And you do get fetishized by a certain type of woman. Essentially, they'll date you or sleep with you, but hide you from either friends or family. And when it's time to get really serious and go to introduce the family, and it'll never get that far because of the social stigma. So you're just basically back to square one of getting used for the stereotype. Finding real love outside of your race where you're not stereotyped or fetishized in some way, I don't know how easy that is, man. Looking back on the relationships where I had with Latinas in the United States, it was always the same thing. In Hispanic countries, my ex-girlfriends would tell me that there's this thinking of marrying into a white race because marrying white people improves the race. It's like they have a word for it, I think. But anyways, it's seen as a positive. You want to have babies with white people because it's an improvement in their eyes. Hispanic women or bros down below, let me know if you've heard the same thing, or guys, white guys that have dated white women or whatever, anybody that's privy to that conversation that have dated Latin women, excuse me. I've always been fetishized because I was tall, because I was in shape. Also, I had an added layer of exoticism being from Eastern Europe. So I was seen as different than American white guys, had them sticking to me in college. And so I dated a lot of Latinas in college, and a lot of them had this conversation. One of them, the mother, I'll never forget this, literally asked her when we're having kids, and you should, in front of her face, in front of me, one of the first times meeting her. When are you, oh my God, he's so handsome, he's so tall. When are you guys having kids? You should have kids right away. Dude, all the moms loved me in those relationships. It was easy. The fathers, not so much. But the moms were absolutely on board. And yeah, that was me getting fetishized. I don't know. That's an interesting conversation. Can you find real love outside of your race? Or how much harder is it? That's a better question. Could you find it? Probably, of course, but how much more difficult? What's the layer of complexity you add on top? And how do you feel about being with somebody that looks at you a certain way just because of the color of your skin? You know, do you consider that real love? These are things we don't talk about in society today. Certainly, I find them interesting. Apart from dude here who's super obsessed with D size, some of the other things he touched up on, true. Others, not so much. He's being affected by the environment he's in, but still good conversations to be had in general. Anyhow, we'll see you guys on the next one.